Hello, you beautiful people. My name is Casey Mugan. I hope you're having a lovely day and welcome to the second episode of the Everton beta save here on FM26. Today, we're going to be looking through some of the recruitment, some opposition scouting, and we are going to be doing our first league game. Hopefully, there's no promise on that, but hopefully, we're going to be doing our first league game. If not, we may go into. Actually, I mean, we've got 5 friendlies to go to. I do like playing the friendlies this game, because I still need to figure out tactics. But no, I think we'll skip through these and we'll head straight into the Leeds match. But first, we have to look at our transfers. So we mentioned in the last episode some positions which we want to improve in. Number 1 being the right back with Nathan Patterson. The other being improving on the striker position over Tieno Barry, who we do really like Tieno, but the idea of him being the starting striker straight away, I'm not liking. I'm definitely more interested in trying to sell on the likes of Beto and bringing in a better striker. But with only 13 odd million pounds, that's going to be tough, right? Well, there's 2 options we can do to try and find cheaper players. The first being to go through the transfer list. Of course, here we'll find some top players available for that price, so maybe we would look at someone like bringing in Mehdi Demiral, but probably not from Saudi Arabia. Maybe we'll look at bringing in, so if you were to say, let's say for example, we're looking for just a striker. In terms of top players, Taibo is definitely a good player, a little bit out of our budget, but we could work some things in. Same with Joe Pro. Verde's probably a bit past it. So I can see there isn't really a huge amount of Premier League quality strikers here. This is literally every striker on the transfer list who'd be interested. And I would say, for maybe the top 3, or ignoring Ross Stewart, Tyro, Pro and Inteka, I'm not huge on too many of them. If we looked at right back, then our options are a little bit better. I do like Inigo Lekwe and Elsie. I mean, Heisa, maybe 3-4 years ago. Paul Lavola's a good shout. The ex-Barca man could definitely. He wasn't ex-Barca. I thought he was, but he's not a bad right back at all. Could improve some of our strengths. So that's the option. Another option is to go through our recommendations and set up some scouting specifically for this. So here, if we looked at our recommendations, we could go to list here, position. So for strikers, looking at Jay Stansfield, Tommy Conway, Eddie Nketiah. Some pretty good players here throughout England. If we went down to right back, Jaden Bogle, Chris Richards is a really good shout, but a little bit too expensive. There's definitely some options. So that is another one where we'll be looking at. The other final one is for the transfer room. Now for transfer room, we will create some requirements. So for example, let's say we're looking for a striker to sign. His role would be to be that target forward. And let's say we don't want to play a really over the age of 33. We're looking for an important player. We can just submit these requirements and we can come back in a little while and hopefully there's an option here for a target striker who we could bring in on a transfer. So those are what we're going to do for now in the background whilst we continue on and we get ready for this game against Leeds. So I'll come back to you with Paul Curry. I'll come back to you with any new news, anything that might be interesting. Till then, though, it's just going to be an FM save as normal. Introduce us to a back and staff. Yeah, go on. We already looked at everything, yeah, we already know that. So they're already dealing with a lot of the trading and so on, which we will work on. They'll help us with specific roles. Match day, handle the opposition So this is all very similar to what it was. We'll skip that. So yes, we will be back with the plans for the team with any sales or any transfers, and I'll see you in a quick minute. So, almost immediately after, maybe 2 days later, a news popped up, a little news article that said Nottingham Forest are going in for Donyell Malen on loan. I really like Donyell Malen. He fits a lot of what I'm looking for, though obviously a little bit shorter. He's a very good player who I don't think it's wrong for us to at least look at, could we bring him on loan? Aston Villa aren't huge on Malen. Obviously, he joined relatively recently, but I can see if they're looking at Evan Gessend, Ollie Watkins as their two leading strikers, where Rodgers, Buendia, Sancho could also fill in there. I can see where maybe, if they're already looking, this was the exact news article I saw, I think it's not wrong of me to at least say, let's make an offer. So I'd want 65 grand per week, which we can afford, £150,000 monthly payments, an optional future fee of 32 million. Again, not bad. He has a slight interest. He's not interested in a permanent deal, which is all good. As a regular starter, someone who can play across the entire front line, I quite like this option here, bringing in Donyell Malen. In terms of his actual stats, he's a good dribbler, good finisher, really good physically. It is his jump, and that is a slight issue in terms of it doesn't entirely fit in with our tactical scheme of that target forward. But as a backup to Iliman Ndiaye, who we don't have a clear backup, it would be Tyler Diblin, who I'd prefer in that sort of Jack Grealish role. I am leaning more and more towards Donyell Malen at least making an offer. And that's what we're going to do. We're going to make that offer and see if they come back to us. I'm not going to go through every specific transfer whilst we're doing it. But we are going to look through. We have 10 players who have responded to this. I will be showing you more than just confirmation, but I won't be showing you every specific transfer we go in for. Peter Musa, he is very, very tall, but not really at that high level. Same with Ermedin Demirovic. Don't know why I struggled for a second. Really do like Demirovic. So yeah, I'll be back showing you sort of wages, where we're looking at with that, but this works, in my opinion, really quite well. So not all of these players are on transfer list. As you can see, none of these players are on the transfer list, but these are players who the clubs feel they can either get good value for, who they don't really want, and it's them actively coming to us, so we can be pretty confident in the transfer values we get for these players are accurate. Now, I don't know why John Cordoba would be here if he's not for sale, but I'm not going to argue with that too much. Transfer him out, I've not looked at a ton, but this is basically where teams are looking for. So, for example, if we were to scroll a little bit further up, we can see Brentford are very interested in signing a better centre-back. What we could do is we could make a similar requirement, or we could offer him to Brentford. Or, for example, if we wanted to sell Dwight McNeil, we could look through and say, okay, Nottingham Forest or Burnley or West Ham, for example, I think it's probably a very good shot. West Ham want a similar player to Dwight McNeil to be a squad player. He suits that role really well. Same with Olympique Marseille. There was definitely a thing here where I could say, okay, I want to sell Dwight McNeil. We could, in theory, get between 27 to 30 million pounds. I can't believe he's only 25. I'll be honest, I'd have said Dwight McNeil was closer to 30. He's been at Burnley for years. So 18-19 was when he had that breakout season. arguably 2019-20. So we're talking 7 years ago. It'd have been only 18 under Sean Dyche. Very impressive. But if I can get good money for McNeil, who is on a hefty wage for the club, there's no reason, in my mind at least, why I wouldn't at least look into, okay, let's sell him. And this is all, this entire first season is going to be showing you how things have changed, how improvements. This is such a better improvement. So I'm going to offer Dwight McNeil to West Ham for 20-ish million with installments over the next 2 years of another. If we do it over the year, maybe we did 15 and 10 throughout this year, and a per appearance for the next 25 games of 250 grand, or load that down to just straight up 200 grand. We're going to offer him, let's see if we get that, and I'm also going to offer him to Marseille, though apparently no longer. So because we've offered McNeil out, that's no longer available. That's a very good improvement that I will be honest and say I hadn't really looked at. So we learned something new together, and yeah, that's an absolute definite improvement on what we'd previously seen in terms of selling players. But I am finally going to leave for a quick moment and let you know if any players do join or leave the club. So, some big news here on the 16th of June, as Daniel Marlon has agreed to join the club. We will be paying 50% of his wages, whether he plays or not, with 150 grand. On top of that, there's a £32 million optional future fee we may or may not accept, depending on how good he is. But Daniel Marlon will be our first new signing. He will come in as an option on the right-hand side, through the middle, on the left, and all round very good attacking forwards who we can trust to pop up with some key goals throughout the season. Alongside that, let's talk about some of the transfer activity currently going on. So, in terms of players going out, we have offers for Beto. We never got an offer in for Dwight McNeil. For Beto, we have 3 loan offers. These are from Benfica, PSV and Brentford, all willing to pay lots of money, as well as having pretty high additional fees. At the end of the season, if they agree to sign him, we can get a lot of money in for Beto. If he is to leave, we have a short list here of our strikers. So, the strikers we're looking at, as for new signings, are Jay Stansfield, Jonas Vind, Daryl DK. Those are the 3 strikers who I think will help us the absolute most. Jay Stansfield, a 6'2" young English striker, would not offer us guaranteed goals straight away, and so we would be reliant on him and Tieno Barry to sort of make up the aggregate combined, and hope Grealish and Jai, Marlon and so on can pop up with key goals to support them. But Jay Stansfield is a good young striker who we definitely can look into. Jonas Vind, on the other hand, would be a more complete striker. At 26 years old, the Danish forward is a very good player. Pretty cheap in terms of transfer value, and that is one of the things that really appeals to me. Last season scored 9 goals, the season before that 11, 6, 5. So he's pretty consistently getting goals in the Bundesliga. I feel we can translate that over to the Premier League pretty well, considering his ability, and he's definitely one of our target number 1s. And Daryl DK is another option. Again, another player who's a little bit more versed within England, still very cheap. And whilst he hasn't ever really hit the heights we expected of him when he first signed to West Brom, there's definitely still a good player there. But when looking at it in terms of how we are actually going to think these guys are going to help, well, Jay Stansfield, we think could be a very good player in the future. Daryl DK would be a little bit more of a punt in terms of hoping we can develop a top player that hasn't quite hit his potential, whereas Jonas Vind has probably the lowest upside, but does have the highest floor. So 3 good options. There's also Mamadou Doumbia, who we're looking at as a exciting youngster who's developed up through the Malian leagues, joined joined Watford and is starting to play. He's another one who we can say, right, he's going to be a really big option for us in the future, but is he the fix right now, especially if Beto's leaving? Likely he isn't. There are other players we're currently scouting as well, so don't think it's only those 3 players we are looking to sign. But that is certainly some of the options. Now, something else we could look at doing here is selling some of our clauses. So, we could give up £40 million for 27.5. We could give up 12 million for 7.5, which isn't great. For Ben Godfrey, this isn't the worst option, so you'd lose £4 million here for a potential 3.6 million, and I don't think that's a bad option at all. Just looking at some expensive money that we could bring in. Lewis Dobbin, again, we could save a tiny bit of money. Neil Mopey. So there's small transfers, but nothing here where we could say, yeah, let's sell these here. So, for example, this £9 million buyout for Richarlison. These are all small things that could improve our finances here and help us sign in a key player if it's extremely necessary that we need an extra £5-10 million to push a transfer over the line. So if players aren't sold, we do have a way to maybe mortgage a little bit of our future in the hopes of improving right here and now. There were other players on the transfer list, and a player like Pathé Cisse could be a really interesting option, same with Alvaro Figaldo. On the actual shortlist, Hayden Hackney is available, as is Yves Bissouma. Yves Bissouma currently transfers for £25 million. If we make a big sale, I think Bissouma is one of those players who we should really be looking to sign. Same with Hayden Hackney. I think he could massively improve this squad if we get the money in for him. But for now, we're going to be very happy with Daniel Malen, and we are going to start heading a little bit closer to the world of our first real transfer. Why can't I? Here we go. We're going to... Shit, I delegated that. I need to fix that. I just wanted to assign him a squad number. The number for Daniel Malen will be the number 14. And for Tyler Oyango, we can't give him a number just yet. I think he's out on loan. That's really annoying. I'm going to have to quickly go back into responsibilities. Go to delegation, transfers. This is first showing of the search function and the delegations. Delegations are basically all the exact same. We take back control of that, but the search button has worked really well. So if you're interested in something, let's say for example you want to look at squad list right here. Let's say you want to look at the under 21s. You can't, apparently, but you can look at the available players. Get a little message, but this is really good just for training here, individual training. The search button is really good, does help, for example, as well if you want to look at Lionel Messi. You can, but if you were to click on search all, you can find a ton more than what you were initially looking for. Look into clubs. If so, in the past, at least I found, for example, when I was looking at certain players or certain teams and they have similar names, it could be awkward trying to scroll for that specific one. That is definitely a lot easier to do. We get 25% of the sale of Ryan Astley, which is about 20 grand. We'll take that. Brentford have withdrawn the bid for Beto. They didn't want to spend £30 million to bring him in at the end of the season. I am a big fan of Daniel Marlon. No comment. Okay. But that is all for now. A little bit of a look at the search function, transfers. And I have to say, if you want my opinion on how I think this again all feels like improvements. The only issue, and I think it's a fair issue, is for example, that Alvaro, when you right click, looks good, but when you're actually on this screen, in the past you'd scroll up, you click transfer, maybe you click scouting. That doesn't exist. It's awkward and it's changed, but I don't think it's a good change, as clicking on action just feels a little bit less intuitive. In the past, the ability to just click and scout usually would be there, but you could just go bang, bang, clicking, going, clicking. All simple. It's not hard. It's not a big downgrade, but it is a feel. You know, I think the biggest example is career stats. Going more and clicking, in theory, is actually harder than just doing that. And I get that it's change, and that's a big part of it. But it does feel a little bit worse in terms of when you just do that and you quickly check. Now, once you're used to it and once you're ready for it, that absolutely is fine. And the search button, again, all looks pretty good. Everything looks and feels good. And I feel if you haven't played a Football Manager before this one, you don't even notice things that are a little bit more awkward. It is just change. And actually looking at that and trying to explain what my issues made me feel like, actually, nothing's changed. Just where the button is has changed, but the actual buttons are all essentially the same. And yeah, I do think once you remember where these buttons are, and that will probably take you in a couple hours, probably take you an hour of actually doing it to understand and learn. Yeah, there's nothing much to it. What are you talking about with James Garner's contract? His contract will expire in June 20... So, the end of next season? No, the end of this season. We do have a contract extension for a longer year. Perfect. He's a player who we expect will probably want to be sold. He's a very good footballer. I wouldn't be surprised if he is moving on. Speaking of, actually, a player who... He's at Birmingham now? Is he on loan? That's just awkward. Yeah, he's on loan. What about the Delhi Bashiroos? Wow, both players have kind of completely ceased to exist at the top level. That's really surprising to me. For Sayo, I always thought was the better player. He was signed for $3 million. What happened to Tom? Really? I always liked Tom. I like both the Bashu brothers. I'm surprised that neither of them have made it to be a little bit better. But that's all. I will let you know if any transfers happen, but this episode's getting a little long, and I'm sure you'll want to see the first proper match of this new game. So some big news. Beto has left and he has joined PSV on loan. As you can see here, we will be receiving 70% of his wages. There's an optional fee of £40.5 million. And if he is to win the best player, he will receive £900,000. So pretty good deal there for Beto. I think we can be pretty happy with that. He was he was initially signed for £21.5 million. So the option of making £40 million would be great on a player who has really struggled to hit the ground running. He's an okay player, but really not someone who we can be focused too much in on. And that leaves us now with £18.5 million and £100,000 on the wage budget to try and bring in one last player. Speaking of, I've just seen bottom left here, contract expire. Michael Keane's contract expires at the end of the year. And I'm fair to say, I'm probably not looking to keep Michael Keane on. Is he a great player? Yes. Is he a stalwart of this Everton side for the better part of a decade? Yeah. But if we're going to be moving onwards and upwards, I do think it's fair to maybe try and sell him. So we're going to offer him out via the transfer room here. We're not going to make any real demands. But if we can get a few £1 million in for Michael Keane, that might help us to bring in a right back, and Jacob Bryan retakes that spot as backup centre back. Our other options being Brandwaite, and of course you can move like to Garner Gay back, a few youngsters. So we'd still have 4 true centre backs if we were to sell Michael Keane with Tarkowski. No, we wouldn't. We'd only have 3. We'd have Tarkowski, Brandwaite, Jacob Bryan. Oh well, you live and learn. Let's see if we get any offers in for him. Now though, the focus comes entirely on if we are going to sign in a new striker. In terms of players who have been scouted, like, I'm not bringing Nikola Vlasic back to England and back to Everton. I'd like Vlasic, but he's probably not. Nketiah's well out of our range. I think we are going to stick with what we have on the short list. Though, Vangelis Pavlidis is too expensive. That would be what took me off of him when I first read it. Yeah, I don't think there's another player. Nathan Teo's available for only £5.8 million. Nathan Teo, really? For £5 million? I will have to say I'm definitely interested in bringing him into the squad. Anyone else? I don't think we can afford Malcolm. He would be a fun player to have. You can go for 6 months. Goose Hamer's another very good midfielder we could look at in the future. But we need a striker. That's what we're looking for. And we need a striker who we can trust, who I believe will score goals. And for me, that is Jonas Wind. 14 finishing, 15 heading. None of it screams elite striker. But I do think that is our best option. The scouts, if we were to ask, I don't know why that confused me for a second. If we were to ask the scouts who they think the best striker is in terms of recommendations, it's still Demirovic, who I did look a lot at Demirovic. They think he would be a very good signing. And to be fair, I agree with them. My issue with Demirovic is his price tag. So he just joined from Stuttgart last season for nearly £18 million. I think about €20 million. And that just seems like a lot to just take him away. So that player like Nathan Fraser, just a little bit too young. And not huge on Zan. Peter Musa, I don't think is ready for this level. Yeah, I don't necessarily think there is a better option right now that we can afford. They really do like Peter Musa though. They also do really like Demirovic, but I just don't think we can afford them. We can afford Peter Musa. He is very good, so for those wondering, he joined from Benfica for $7.5 million, and he is having a very good year here in America. He's, in theory, he's never really truly struggled, but he's never really put himself in a position where he can. So he wasn't amazing over in the Portuguese leagues, whilst being fairly alright. And that's kind of my issue, is got a player who's pretty good in the USA, pretty good in Czechia. 27 years old, though there isn't a ton of growth, and I just don't think he's the guy. And Dennis Undav is another player who's very experienced, has a lot of goals, but hasn't long joined Stuttgart and would be too expensive. So, to me at least, in terms of a player who's cheap, who we trust, Jonas Wind for what could well be £5 million-ish, I think is a steal. I don't know why he's valued so lowly. But yeah, I'm going to say £5 million. If he is to score 10 goals, I'm going to give you another 300 grand. That's about what we'd want out of him. And if he's to score 20, we can rise that up to £1 million altogether. And alongside that, we will do some per league appearances. So if he makes 30 league appearances for us, so he's a consistent starter, over those 30, we'll rise that up to about £8 million with 70 grand, or should we do 65 grand per appearance? So we're very slightly overpaying if he is very good. But in terms of upfront costs, only £5 million, it's not something to complain about. There's no offers in for Michael Keane. Is there anyone else whose contract is expiring who we think maybe should be sold? Garner Gay, I want to keep. Bet you he has an extension clause. Of course he does. Seamus Coleman probably has an extension clause. No. We'll talk about him later. Michael Keane does have an extension clause, but what's his actual contract at? 45 grand. I'm not against keeping him. I think for most players I want to keep for now, unless we can get money. So Keane can stay. Mikalenko, it's on 75 grand. He is a good player, but is he so good that we want to pay him 75 grand per week? Not really. I'm more interested in trying to talk to Mikalenko about a whole new contract. Slightly interested. 84. You're asking far too much. Willing to go back down 75 grand. I'm not huge on it. I'm more interested in that case of saying, yeah, let's try and move off of Mikalenko and find someone a little bit better. If we're willing to offer him out for about £15 million, let's see if we do get any deals in. In this episode, I did want to avoid it dragging. We're already at the half an hour mark. Next I see you will be the actual first game. We'll be loading into the game and I'll run you through what the starting lineup looks like. Okay, we are back and let's talk about our lineup because it has most certainly changed. We have a brand new left back. His name is Ramon Hendricks. He has been signed from German club Stuttgart. He had a relatively nothing career in the Eredivisie before having a really good year last year for Stuttgart in the Bundesliga, and we have signed him up for just £3.2 million. He is not their starting left back, that's Max Mittelstadt, who is much better, but varied a lot, and at least I saw quite a lot of potential in Ramon Hendricks. He is predominantly a centre-back who has the ability to go to the left, great strength and pace, bravery, determination. He's certainly a raw package and not somebody who you'd say, is going to step up immediately and be one of the best left backs in the league. But between him and Adam Agnew, I feel we have two really exciting young left backs who we can rely on. But a stronger defensive centre back I felt was what we needed. Whilst he was certainly better offensive options, having that sort of inverted fullback back three with Gay just makes us a little bit stronger. And when you look at us in possession, that's most definitely out. In possession, I can see we're just that bit better. Whereas if Hendricks up there with just that three, I was a little bit more worried about the team shape. We also do officially have Jonas Wind leading the front line. He's been signed, as you saw, as that experienced, more clinical striker. As for the sale of, I've forgotten his name, Mikalenko, he has been sold to Crystal Palace for dead on £15 million. It's about what we wanted from him. For 1 year left in his contract, we make a slight loss. And he's a very good footballer. And that's something I don't want to try and hide, is I was big on Mikalenko and I do think he was good. But 1 year left on his contract at 26 years old, I don't think we were getting much more than that. And when it came to would I rather pay him 75 grand a week, upwards towards more than 90 grand, we'll pay less than half of that for Hendricks. And with Asnu combined, we're talking still between 20 to 30 odd grand cheaper. So that was my feelings. In terms of any last minute transfers, what we're looking at is actually a brand new holding midfielder. And these are the options. We have Eric Martel, Santiago Castaneda, Joel Latabodier, Raphael Kofler. We still have Hayden Hackney. Pathé Cisse is there, Yves Bissouma and Lamare Bogard. So there are options, quite a good amount of players there. 12. That's not 12, nowhere near. That is 8. 8 options for this holding midfield role. All often very different things. I'm not going to go too deep into them, but key players I'm looking at is Bogart and Castaneda. Not Castaneda, Martel. Those are the 2 players I'm most looking at, but don't be surprised if we go in for someone slightly different. The feeling is just that we currently only have one true holding midfielder in Idrissa Gana Gueye. Vol isn't someone who I necessarily think is bad at all, and if we don't sign someone, he would be that option, but he is suffering quite a bit through injuries throughout the season. But let's get into this match here as we face Leeds in the opening game of the season. We did look a little at Leeds' opposition report. As you can see, we were already on team analysis, but this is a team here, used that 4-3-3 and struggle the most against 4-3-3. So we're going to stick with that for now. We're basically going to use the sort of traditional tactic that we have without any changes. We're not adapting to this Leeds team. We will adapt more and more as we go along. Now, I do wonder if this is too loud. So that noise you hear right now, we're going to cut out. I'm going to turn off. We're going to just leave it in for this quick second to tell me, is that too loud? Should we lower it? It does sound very loud though, in my opinion. So we're going to turn all of that off. Yeah, that did sound a bit too much in my ears. That's the first time I've actually heard the gameplay, because who plays FM with headphones on? Jack Grealish racing down the line. We've looked at a fair few Leeds players as possible signings, just haven't gone in for them. Kenan Lodi, probably one of their biggest threats, of course, alongside the likes of Nyonto. But it would be Daniel James driving through, a good tackle. Dewsbury Hall clears that ball. Jonas Wind to Dwight McNeil. Well, we should be looking to find these attacks on the counter. I like the possession stat though. That is the number one thing I'm looking at. Over 70% possession here 10 minutes into the game. It's about denying opportunities though from Leeds, as James Garner with a big time tackle. And has he hurt himself? It looks like both him and Lodi have seemingly gave themselves a little bit of a knock. James Garner really struggling, but says he wants to play through. We'll give him at least another 10 minutes to see if he's doing okay, or if there is slight effect on his ability, as he is Garner Gueye. He's been able to step a little bit further forward with the signing of Hendricks, but loses out in that challenge, and it's Nyonto forward, and that doesn't threaten Jordan Pickford's goal at all. So far, we're not looking great in terms of creating any offence. McNeil is fouled by Anton Stark, and Dewsbury Hall steps over this ball. We want a lot out of him, and he forces a very good save out of Luca Perry. Our first shot on target comes from a set piece. We are only 18 minutes in. We're allowed to let attacks take a bit of time, but this is not great. He has Leeds from the goalkeeper all the way forward. Ampadu inside to Dan James. Beats his man. A good block though, and it's out for a corner. It's a tough opening day here for Ramon Hendricks, going one-on-one with Daniel James, but it's only going to get tougher and tougher as Tanaka beats his man. Still going here. Tanaka forces a save out of Pickford. Both teams with shots on target, but neither very dangerous chances. And we're going to stick with this highlight here. Tarkowski. Oh, what a waste of him. So yeah, both shots on target coming from outside the box, but Leeds so far looking a slightly better team. It's another chance starting with Leeds on the ball. Kenan Lodi will take this corner kick. Headed away by Ramon Hendricks. Falls back to Nonto, into Henan Lodi. Nonto, that's not going to challenge anything. And if that's the type of highlights we're going to be seeing, and what we feel Leeds can offer at their best, then we can feel comfortable. So far, Pickford hasn't been challenged all too much, but the Wilfred Nonto chance early in this game is the closest either teams came to scoring. Jack Grealish dispossessed by Dan James. We want to see a lot of that from Jack Grealish. Beating his man, winning set pieces. Can Garner capitalise on that set piece? That's the big one, not quite. Luca Perry forces a corner kick. Well, 35 minutes in here. It's still Everton on the ball to James Tarkowski. Jared Brandwaite. Now, for those wondering, in terms of the series, episodes will get shorter and we will be moving through the seasons a little bit quicker, but with these two starting episodes, we have to take the most amount of time, as James Garner, already suffering from a slight injury, has gone down again, and this will be the end of James Garner's day to day. Tim, I forget how to pronounce his name. I think it's something a little bit cleaner on the ears than how I say it. But Iraburnham, I think that's what it is. Iraburnham is, that's off the crossbar. Pickford got a slight touch to it. Yeah, my point to what I was saying earlier, just before James Garner sadly has had to come off injured, was that with these introductory episodes, they do take a little bit longer, as I have to introduce you to the team and transfers, and it's always going to be a slower approach here. But now that the season's kicked off, expect things to move a lot quicker. Episodes likely be closer to the 20-25 minute mark rather than the 30, and we're currently at 40-minute marks. These two episodes have been. This episode, you can imagine, will be knocking on the 50-minute mark, which is going to almost unquestionably be the longest episode of this entire save. As Ampadu to Stark. Henan Lodi. This isn't very fun right now. I'm seeing Leeds making a lot more of their chances than we are. As, another save forced by Jordan Pickford. We're going to have to make something change tactically here, and it likely will be just moving the ball a little bit quicker, a little bit more direct. But maybe that won't be the case, as Grealish is tackled by Jayden Bogle. I thought he may have been about to win a penalty there. Salih Özcan breaking into Noah Okafor, and that's off the crossbar, and that should have been 1-0. Pickford was most certainly beaten. It was a wide open net, but too much power hit it off the crossbar. We're going to be somewhat happy with the team, but internally we're not all that happy, to be fair. In terms of team instructions, we are going to move this tempo up a little bit higher. For those who don't know, this is so good, this overview. If you don't want to click into each thing, and you found this out earlier today, you can just left click, not right click, just left click into the little boxes on the side. Really nice, very easy. Probably the quickest way there's ever been to doing tactics, as you aren't in and out of boxes, nor are you sort of clicking along like what used to be the case. It is really, really clean and easy. That was a really poor pass there. Dan James was never getting to that. But yeah, we need to be playing a bit better here. Leeds will feel hard done by that they're not 1-0 up here. Noah Okafor to Salih Özcan. Nonto, Henan Lodi. It may be that Nathan Passon needs to come off, but it's Jared Brandwaite giving away a free kick that we need to be worried about right now. No, we don't need to be worried. It'll be a completely separate free kick on the other end of the pitch as Tanaka. It's through. Tanaka again. Dan James, come on. Another save from Pickford. It's a good thing it's Dan James who's taking a lot of these shots. Anyone better, and we would be 1-0 down here. Brantway heads away. We're going to have to take this off of balance. We're going to move cautious here, as we aren't creating anything. 63% possession and nothing to show for it. It may be that Tierno Barry is someone else to be bringing on in a second, as we're heading into the 60th minute here, coming up on 65 actually. Pickford with a short, no, a long goal kick, kind of weird, medium to above average long kick, but it has great personality. I don't see how that was a highlight. Just checking, I am definitely on dynamic mode. This doesn't feel very dynamic. It feels very dragged out. There's no Okafor. Tackle by Vind, but that's really poor by the striker. I understand he's not used to defending too much, but he needs to be better than that, and he may have opened up a lot of space here for Leeds as Daniel James drives forward, blocked by Jared Brantwaite again. No, that was Dewsbury Hall. We're going to have to make some substitutions here. The first one is going to be Jonas Vind off for Tierno Barry. Alongside that, Daniel Mullen's going to come in for Dwight McNeil. 2 attacking substitutions. So we need just one chance and we will be very happy. And it's Dewsbury Hall here with the corner kick. He has a lot of heads to aim for. Marlon offering some height, Njai couldn't. Instead, it's all the way out for another throw-in as Calvert-Lewin comes on to face his former team. It certainly does feel the loss of Jeans Garner hurt us a bit, so we lost that little bit of creativity for Irabunum. Nanto looks to be playing a sort of wing-back role there. Jaden Bogle, Tanaka, Batakan and Lodi. We can't be letting Leeds have this ball. A lot of the chances, though, are coming from very, very far out. And that is a positive we can take, is that Leeds, for the most part, have been relatively toothless. They've just had a lot of the ball in these highlights, not really done anything with them. Will this be a change to the case? No, it's Irabunum giving away another free kick, and Leeds have had a lot of these as Erskine steps up, looking to test Pickford, but doesn't. It's another shot high and wide. It's time to make our final changes. Was Iliman Njai not starting? Was it Dwight McNeil? Dwight McNeil was starting. No, it says he is subbed off in the 0th minute, which apparently everyone was subbed off in that time, so maybe McNeil did actually start. That's not great. But Asno is going to come on for Hendricks, and for our last changes, that's going to be Grealish replacing Dewsbury Hall in the midfield. Dewsbury Hall will be replaced by Iliman Njai. Will that create anything? Grealish as a central midfielder, I do think is his best position. Let's see if his creativity can help us out here. Tierno Barry turns right into Anton Stock. Back to Ethan Ampadu. Stock again. Lodi. Erskine. All the way up the top to Noah Okafor. Crosses it looking for Calvert-Lewin just wide. His debut, nearly a goal against his former team. Thankfully that doesn't quite happen. It looks to end the 0-0 here as we're heading into the 90th minute. It's not a great opening night result, but it could become a lot worse for Everton here. A poor pass out from the back allows Stock to find Nonto. Calvert-Lewin can't get there. Njai now looking to turn this. Fires the ball all the way over the top. Bogle heads it to Jack Grealish. Grealish in that midfield position is tackled. We're going to move Grealish to an attacking playmaker here for these last 2 minutes in added time. There will be one final highlight. 93 of 94 minutes played. Adam Asnu, the substitute, looking to make his name one of the first on the team sheet if he can create something from this corner, from this free kick. Finds Grealish. Jaden Bogle was there to block a long shot. But the throw-in still gives us time here. Nathan Patterson. Timothy Boonham. Patterson finds Daniel Marlin, the debutant, with a poor pass, but wins it right back. And the referee blows for full time. And that is a little bit of Ellen Road being Ellen Road, I think. The referee absolutely should have allowed that to play on. It felt like we had a chance, but it does end 0-0. And when you look at the match stats, I don't think you complain too much. 16 shots to our 7. 4 shots on target just to the 3, and that seems very even. But the XG, 1.37, we only had 0.19. And that doesn't sound all too bad till you think about the fact we had 0.19 for a lot of this game. They had 10 to our 4 corners. We won double the amount of headers. We made a relatively equal amount of tackles. But at the end of the day, we just didn't create enough offensively. And that you can't get away with. Yeah, a lot to complain about here. If you're Everton, this is not the type of result you want to be seeing against a newly promoted side. My question is, where the fuck did... Oh no, he would have played there. Yeah, not a great opening night result. Man of match performance for Lucas Perry. I think Pickford's a little bit hard done by. But a result and points is still points. The goal is to just stay in the Premier League. And a 0-0 draw, for the most part, will help you get there. James Garner will only be out for 1 to 3 days. Not a bad injury at all. You did fear the worst. But the in possession so far, not looking all too good. It may come that we need to make some slight changes. To be fair, I'm already going to make one, which is just having Dewsbury Hall as an advanced playmaker. I think that might help a little bit. I'm sure it'll also help once Njai can start instead of Dwight McNeil. I think that might help a little bit. But thank you all for watching. I hope you have a wonderful day. I'm sorry for the very long episode. I promise you it won't always be this long. But you guys take care, and I'll see you all again. Bye bye.